precise and timely treatments. At Tanner Health, every patient's journey is a testament to resilience, a story of strength, healing, and hope. We go beyond treatment to redefine what compassionate care truly means. That's Tanner Health. That's care redefined. Learn more at tanner.org.
Do the math. At Oak Mountain Academy, our average graduating class has just 12 students. We celebrate a 100% graduation rate with more than $10.5 million in college scholarships offered. Plus, 96% of our students are accepted into their top choice college. Do the math. Can you see the value of an OMA education? I'm Patrick Uran, head of school at Oak Mountain Academy, and I'm here to help you do the math. For more information, visit us at oakmountain.us so that you can discover your journey on the mountain, where every path leads to purpose.
National headlines and the local stories you care about. WLBB, Carrollton, News Talk, 1330, FM 106.3.
Good morning. Welcome to the Community Voice. I'm Steve Gradick, your host. November is designated as National Adoption Month to celebrate adoption and raise awareness about the need for a loving, permanent homes for children in foster care. The observance grew from Adoption Week, which began in Massachusetts in 1976, and was expanded to a full month in 1995 by President Bill Clinton. Last Thursday, President Donald Trump signed an executive order recommended by First Lady Melania Trump to expand support for the foster care system. The order focuses on helping children and young adults transitioning out of foster care. So every year I do try at least to have one show on foster care and adoption. Our guests this morning are Bowdon Baptist Church Senior Pastor Justin Richards. Justin was called to serve Bowdon Baptist Church in January of 2016, so therefore he's been there 20 years.
10 in January.
10, I can't add.
That's all right. It's Monday.
He's been in vocational ministry since 1992, serving as student pastor, associate pastor, and lead pastor. Justin is a graduate of Villa Rica High School.
We are VR.
We are VR. 1991, the University of West Georgia, BA in History. 1994, New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary, Master of Divinity in 2010. He and his wife Jill have adopted 4 children and are heavily involved in the foster system. Our other guest is Gwyn Andrews, who's a junior at the University of West Georgia and serves as the founder and president of the Turning Point chapter there, as well as president of Students for Life. She's also a senator in the student government. Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Lady and gentlemen.
That's right. You use the second term loosely, correct?
Extremely. We're going to let Justin take this first segment. If you would, tell us, many years now we've been talking about the foster system,
yes, sir.
Locally. Give us an update, and then we'll talk about your adoption experience.
Okay. Yeah, so I reached out to my friend Kenneth Aycock, who works with Families for Families, just to get some updated numbers. So as of this morning, the last release, 12,289 children in the foster care system in the state of Georgia. And then Carroll County, the last number we had was 171 kids. So when we got involved in foster care, it was 200 kids, 10 foster homes. So that was kind of the thing that was motivating us to get involved in foster care. But the thing that was interesting, Kenneth brought to our attention this morning was Carroll County has more than double of all the surrounding counties of kids in care. So Carroll County is just exceptional in that area. So, and then he sent me a map to the number of kids that are sent out all over the state, as far as South Georgia, all the way out to the coast, because we don't have enough homes here in Carroll County to keep our kids in our county. So,
in years past, we've often talked about how we only have, 8 or 10 homes, and it's not a very large number.
Correct.
Yeah, or 12 or a dozen or whatever, but you got
right.
200 kids.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's always been a challenge for us here in Carroll County. I've been blessed to serve on the Family Connections Board, and that was kind of our focus for the first few years that I got to serve on that board. And we saw an uptick. We were pushing almost 40 homes at that time, but that has backed off a little bit. I'm not as well connected since we've kind of stepped away, and we're raising our kids now, adopted all of our foster kids. So, there's still always a need, But that's what I love about Families for Families. They don't talk about just the need. They talk about the ways that if you can't be a foster parent, there's tons of ways that you can get involved in the process and help support foster parents to be successful. We talk about circles of care and how vital those are to make these situations successful. And we're walking that journey right now in our church. We're blessed to have another foster family that's going through the foster care process. Just as a matter of fact, the last 2 weeks got their official placement. And so our church family gets to come around them. We're still doing respite care. We got to keep him for 4 days while the family was on vacation. So, we're seeing how we can really plug in as a church family to make that successful.
So you say respite care. So basically just support in a multitude of ways, whether it's, diapers or whatever, to support foster families.
Yeah, so those circles of care that Families for Families really pushes is they say everybody can be a part of the piece of the puzzle, right? So you're like, man, there is no way that I could foster a child. Well, respite care. I mean, for us, it was 4 nights, and we're blessed because I've got 6 kids. So there were a lot of people that were able to help keep this young man happy and healthy for the time that he was with us. But yeah, I mean, fixing a meal is vital. If you can just say, hey, once a week, I'll bring you dinner on Thursday night. So that's one thing you don't have to worry about. Or you mentioned it, diapers, man. If you've got an infant in care, somebody that's providing diapers for you, those things are game changers. And even something simple as a handyman can come and cut some grass every once in a while. All those things are vital to make those foster care situations successful.
But don't a lot of foster parents end up adopting some of the kids? I
wouldn't say a lot. The reality is, statistically, most first family placements never come back to foster care because they don't have the support. So when we said we had real good numbers for a while here in Carroll County, we were pushing 30 and 40 families because they didn't have these circles of support around them. They had one placement and they bowed out. We have a perfect situation like that in our church family because they did not have not support from our end, but support on the other end.
I guess, as they say, the elephant in the room question would be, don't a lot of these kids have all kinds of emotional type problems and challenges?
Absolutely. And then that's where the foster families need the support from, not only in our context, church, but they also need support from the state. And so that's where there's kind of this gap. They tell you that all these resources are available to you, but then sometimes to access those resources are a challenge, right? I don't want to throw stones at the state, but there were a lot of times where we would reach out for help from the state and we just didn't get it. So sometimes it is having some mental support and be able to take your kids to get some counseling or to have some family counseling, right? Just for everybody to sit in the room with a counselor and say, hey, let's work through the challenges that we're facing. So yeah, there are all kinds of bumps in the road, but yeah, it's a huge challenge.
If somebody's thinking about being a foster parent or even an adopted parent, what are the qualifications?
I mean, I'm going to say just having a loving heart, man. That's what you need. But the state is going to have a list of things that they have expectations for. They're going to sit down with you, and you're going to give them everything but probably, a blood sample for them to do background check information and know that you're prepared. I remember our home study. One of the things that we failed on is we had too many ant hills in our backyard, and I had to go kill ants, right? So, they're going to make sure that you're prepared to take care of the children that are in your care. But
all you got to do is put some fire ant killer.
Well, I know, but that was what was on the report, right? That was fine. I knew I needed to do that, but that's how meticulous they were to make sure that the kids were safe, right?
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, you got to have a loving heart, and you want to take care of kids. But having those people around you that can help support. I mean, they were asking us if our family was supportive of what we were doing to make sure that they knew we would have support outside of our own families, the extended folks that were around us.
So because you brought 4 adopted kids into your family, you already had 2 kids.
Yes, sir.
So how did that dynamic work, and what's it been like?
So I always say this at the outset of this conversation: never go to a conference, because I went to a conference, and at the conference, the speaker said if one family in every 3 churches in America would adopt, there would be no more orphans in the United States. And so I checked the numbers this morning, and that still stands true. There are about 300,000 churches in the United States, and that's a plus or minus because they open and close all the time. But there's about 100,000 kids that are what we would call legally emancipated for adoption right now in the United States of America, that if a family felt led to do that. So that number is still real today. So that just led us to come and look at our situation in Carroll County, 200 kids, 10 foster homes. So we called Carroll County DFACS and said, hey, we're available. What does that look like? So we went through all of our training, and there was a young man that was in the foster to adopt program, which you can go at. When we were going in, we're old now. When we were going in, there were three ways you could get involved in foster care. Straight foster care, hey, we're just letting kids come and go as the state sends them. Foster to adopt, that was an expectation of adoption. And then straight adoption. So if you let the county know, hey, we want to adopt, then they'll work with you on those things. We went in foster to adopt because we knew that was what God was leading us to do. We were going to be adoptive parents. And so we went through that process. And after about 5 or 6 years, my wife's a whole lot better with the numbers, but our youngest son became a part of our family.
So how did the family gel together, having 2 and then 4 added?
Right. So my oldest 2 are amazing. Right before we got on air, I got a phone call from one of my church members hyping up one of my kids and how awesome he was yesterday. My kids are awesome. My 2 oldest, my oldest daughter and son, my biological children, we obviously had to sit down and have a conversation. Is this something you guys are open to? And they were super supportive at the time, and they continue to be super supportive. I mean, my oldest daughter is getting her master's in counseling. She's going into the counseling field. After spending all that time going through the process of foster care and adoption, she still wants to be someone that helps people out. But then once we adopted our son, we thought, well, that's the end of that. But we also knew that the system needed help. And so we had some folks that were already in the foster care system, and they were going to have to pull out. And they had 2 little girls that was staying with them at the time. And so they came and stayed with us, and we realized pretty quickly they probably would not be going home. So we went ahead and made the commitment. I always tell the story. My wife was all in. We bought a 12-passenger van. So for almost 15 years, she drove a 12-passenger van because she was committed to what we were doing as a family.
All right. I guess this morning, Justin Richards, pastor of Bowdon Baptist Church, Gwyn Andrews, founder and president of Turning Point chapter at the University of West Georgia, and also president of Students for Life. Come back. We're going to visit with Gwyn, and we'll be back after these words.
Imagine a place where every heartbeat is monitored with the utmost care, where emergencies are met with swift attention, and where cutting-edge technology enables precise and timely treatments. At Tanner Health, every patient's journey is a testament to resilience, a story of strength, healing, and hope. We go beyond treatment to redefine what compassionate care truly means. That's Tanner Health. That's care redefined. Learn more at tanner.org.
Oak Mountain Academy specializes in a customized designed academic approach tailored to meet the needs of our families. Our lower division prepares students with the necessary foundation to build excellence. Our middle division provides students with over 15 course offerings, providing them with opportunities to explore their talents and gifts. Our upper division provides personalized academic journeys, allowing them to achieve their dreams. I'm Patrick Uran, head of school, inviting you to journey with us. For more information, visit us at oakmountain.us, where every path leads to purpose.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Community Voice. I'm Steve Radick, your host, and we're talking about adoption this morning during Adoption Month, which is November. Well, with Gwyn Andrews, we did a program about a month and a half ago on the assassination of Charlie Kirk, which is archived on our YouTube channel. In that show, you came up with a term I was unfamiliar with called open adoption. So tell us your story with a little bit of focus on open adoption, if you would.
Yeah, so I'll start with my story. When I was 19, I had an unexpected pregnancy. I was a college athlete at the time. I was living my life very much for me and found myself in an unfortunate situation. I had initially scheduled an abortion after what I would say is a supernatural encounter with the Lord through a friend. I ended up going home, telling my parents. I grew up in the church. My dad's a pastor. And so I had a lot of weight on my back with pressure about what to do with this pregnancy, because obviously I knew, no, I wasn't doing abortion, but being a single mother at 19 didn't seem the route that I was hoping to take, and I wasn't sure what that would look like moving forward. Well, my mom has a friend on the board of Covenant Care Adoptions in Macon, Georgia, and she had initially proposed the idea of me going to talk to one of these birth counselors I didn't want to share how I was feeling or going through anything, so maybe speaking to somebody outside of the situation who doesn't have a bias would have a conversation with me. So I went to the appointment just to appease my mom because I'm like, at this point, what's the worst that could happen? Let me start doing some things correctly. And I had this conversation with this woman. Her name's Carol. And she had told me that Covenant Care wanted to walk with me through my pregnancy, whether I decided to place for adoption or parent. And my initial reaction was, okay, great, I'll just maintain this relationship to get resources in the future. Because adoption to me, unfortunately, even growing up in the church as a pastor's kid, was secret, it was dirty, it was, you hear these bad stories about teenage pregnancies, you hear these unfortunate stories about foster care. I thought of Annie in a bunk bed, a kid just waiting to be picked. And that was not what I wanted for my child. I was being very possessive in that time of saying, no, absolutely not. I will raise my baby the way I want to do it, how I want to do it. After learning more and more about the adoption process through Covenant Care, they do closed and open, but specifically open adoption, I learned that there's an entire ministry that is not given enough credit and recognition, not just in the country, but through the churches, where they work with the birth mother and the birth father to build a relationship with the family that we choose to adopt our child. So my initial introduction was them walking me through the legal process of what it would look like to pursue open adoption, where I would place my daughter with a family that I would choose. They would have profiles, which are a bunch of books that are families that are working with that organization that are looking to adopt. Similar to the foster care system, they have somebody go to the house, they vet the family, they do all this research, but these profiles tell me all about these families. So how many kids they have, what kind of theological background, how involved are they with their extended families, what does their home life look like, what do they want to do for schooling. I knew all this information to be able to make a decision based on what family I want my daughter to go to.
You got to choose the family.
I did, yes, sir.
Wow.
So I was initially able to work with her father at the time and lay out, we said, okay, we want a family who's not able to have a biological child of their own, because in our sin, we were hoping to bless somebody that can't do what we did. And eventually we came across this profile of a family who already had 3 boys biologically, but they had done foster care. They had done a lot of external ways to, have another child come into their home that they could care for. They had had some miscarriages, and they had been waiting 10 years at this agency, and nobody had picked them. And so I had a conversation with my daughter's father, and I said, hey, I really feel the Lord pulling me to, choose this family. And so we talked about it together, and we ended up placing with this family. But the interesting thing about open adoption, and I know that foster care is similar, is 9 out of 10 birth moms change their mind after the baby's born. So that's a 90% rate that once that baby, the mother's holding the baby, she will say, actually, I changed my mind. I want to keep the baby. So after the baby is born, the mom has 72 hours to make that official decision. Once she signs her rights away, the baby now belongs to the state until the adoption process is finalized for the family. So there's a weird window there where the baby kind of belongs to the state, which is a scary window, but it can be really good if you choose the correct organization.
So I will ask probably a not very smart question. Why is that? Why once they hold the baby? I mean, I know you probably can't even describe it.
Oh yeah, it's
what's
well, I think we live in a generation now, and we talked about this on our last episode, we are devaluing human life and dehumanizing those around us. And so if you have a mother who, for me example, I devalued my daughter's life as a means to get mine back the way I wanted it. And once you're holding that child and you realize, wow, I created this, I grew this, I helped foster what this now human being is in my arms. This is half of me and half of the father, along with all the endorphins and the emotions and the, I don't even know if that's the right word, but the chemical inbounds that our bodies were biologically created to feel after we have that baby. There's an immediate attachment there. And I think that once women are holding their baby, they have all this good juice pumping in their body, and they're thinking, okay, I can do this. I can experience this in a good, positive manner, and there is a way out of this unfortunate circumstance. And so obviously as a pro-life position, my initial thought is, well, I want the mom to choose life, and then we'll figure out the rest from there. And so I love that women do take their babies home, but open adoption specifically is a way to allow me and my daughter's father to have a relationship with my daughter as she grows up. One of my biggest fears at the time was that she would think that we rejected her or we didn't want her. And the thing I've learned with open adoption is that it's such a redemptive means to a broken situation where I didn't lose my daughter and he didn't lose his daughter, but we now gained a whole new family because this family treats us as if we were their kids. And so do you have a comment?
Yeah. So what's that like? I mean, you visit on special days?
Yeah.
Or how does that work?
So legally 2 times a year, they have to let us see our daughter. We do separate visits. The baseline layout is 2 times a year. Every 6 months, we get to visit her on a mutual grounds between where we live and where they live. And their agent and my birth counselor are all there to kind of not babysit, but, like make sure everything goes well. Sometimes it's really awkward. A lot of times the birth moms are, detoxing or they're coming out of difficult situations where they can't be with their baby until the baby's 2 or 3 years old when they're not ready. Well, for my specific situation, I didn't really have any unfortunate surrounding circumstances. I just knew that this was what the Lord was calling me to do. And so I immediately met the family the next month. So she was born in August. We met in September. We created a really amazing relationship right off the bat. Turns out we had mutual people in our lives that they knew that we knew because, Georgia's Georgia. And so we were able to tell the adoption agency, hey, we've got it from here. You're good. Don't worry about us. So now I have direct communication with her mom. I could call her right now and say, hey, can I come stay the weekend with y'all? And she would say yes. And so it's a different situation for each birth mom. And I don't want to set an unrealistic expectation for somebody that's considering open adoption, but if you choose the correct family, and I think all the families that would have ended up this way, and the correct agency, it can really truly be a redemptive opportunity where my daughter will grow up with the worldview that adoption isn't secretive, it isn't bad, she wasn't rejected. We loved her so much that we wanted more for her than what we had able to offer for her.
And you'll be with her for the rest of her life.
That's exactly right.
Rest of your life.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, we're going to take another break. We'll be back with more with Gwyn Andrews and Justin Richards after this.
Imagine a place where every heartbeat is monitored with the utmost care, where emergencies are met with swift attention, and where cutting-edge technology enables precise and timely treatments. At Tanner Health, every patient's journey is a testament to resilience, a story of strength, healing, and hope. We go beyond treatment to redefine what compassionate care truly means. That's Tanner Health. That's care redefined. Learn more at tanner.org.
Oak Mountain Academy is a vibrant community built on innovation, academic excellence, and a 64-year legacy of shaping community leaders. I'm Patrick Uran, head of school at Oak Mountain Academy, inviting you to visit the mountain and experience firsthand the passion, purpose, and personalized education that defines our school. Come see how our mission and vision come to life each day. For more information, visit us at oakmountain.us so that you can discover your journey on the mountain, where every path leads to purpose.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Community Voice. I'm Steve Wright, your host. We got Gwyn Andrews, Justin Richards in the studio, and we're getting ready for Thanksgiving, and which means that everybody's already talking about what?
Christmas. That's right.
So, but that brings us to the birth of the Christ child, and let's kind of get ahead of the curve because Christmas is upon us, but it's not exactly here yet. How do y'all, both of y'all, relate to the story of the birth of Christ and Joseph and Mary? And there you go. And how's that relate to what we've been talking about?
Wow. So I could not help but grin a little bit if you guys are paying attention on Facebook, if you're watching it on live, as Gwyn was talking about the redemptive part of adoption and how powerful that is in the modern context. But she had a reference, so I'm going to sling it over to her and just let her kind of jump in on the Christmas story and how powerful that is.
I think I would start with the way that I viewed the Christmas story growing up. I think after I was saved, I realized being in a situation where I was similar to Mary in the sense of I was young, I was in an unexpected pregnancy, and I had shame around me with people who were looking at me. I think that I viewed a lot of these stories in the Bible as fictional or fairy tales. But once I walked through what I believe are similar aspects of what Mary experienced, I was able to put myself in her shoes. And it just puts so much more emphasis on what Joseph and Mary went through to allow Jesus to be a part of not only the world in a human form, but then to be sacrificed and crucified for our grace. It has so much emphasis around that. But specifically, I think that the church misses the role that Joseph plays. Right. I have never heard this talked about at a church service, online, anywhere have I seen any influencer speak about Joseph was not Jesus's biological child. There is not one quotation in the Gospels where we can see that Joseph said something, but through his obedience and his faith, we see a perfect, tangible, or intangible, tangible, correct?
Yes.
Tangible grace and obedience of a nuclear biblical father. And Joseph had to step up to the calling of saying, hey, this isn't your biological child. You have to walk around in shame with the girl that you're about to marry being pregnant, and everybody's going to make assumptions about you. And you have to choose obedience and faith and trust in me to make this situation eventually redemptive. And there's such an emphasis to that. I mean, it's interesting, too, because there's so many things about the church that I can mention.
Right. Well, and that's what I'm saying. You know, that's for us, like, seeing the responsibility. I've got 4 kids in my house that are not biologically mine. They don't have my DNA. Mm-hmm. And so when we go out in the community, like, it is obvious when we walk in a door. You know, I'll tell this story on this guy at Waffle House one time. I'm walking in, he's standing at the door, holding the door open, and, you know, we just got out of our 12-passenger van, and he's like, his head's bobbing he's counting the kids, like he's watching us come in, right? And then he walks by, I walk by, and he goes, oh, I see you. Like, I don't know what his expectation of what a family look like, but we deal with that on a regular basis in our family because people go, there's something different about that. And that is absolutely true, that we have that responsibility as parents. Like, my biological kids and my adopted, they're just my kids. They're all Richard's kids. They're just, that's who they are. So we kind of get to walk that out, and every adoptive family gets to walk that out because people know that's not your DNA, but that doesn't matter. Those are my children, and you guys are paying attention. Everything about Scripture is we're adopted into the family of God. We're not God's kids. We're children of the devil's, what Scripture says, and then God adopts us through the sacrifice of Christ. So, yeah, we get to walk that out and to manifest that on a daily basis. And Joseph was like, and God's like, hey, this is what I want you to do, and he was obedient to that. So, yeah, props to Joseph for being obedient in that context, right?
Props to Joseph.
Yeah, sorry, I've been hanging around my kids. Like, yeah, I'll detox a little bit.
So this Christmas season, this is something to reflect on. And I, too, have not heard many sermons or commentaries on that as far as Joseph, but it also demonstrates the power of the family as God designed and ordained.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You can also... Do we have time?
Yeah, we got about a minute.
You can also look at Mary and say that Mary went to multiple households looking for somewhere to have Jesus. And when we hear that story, we mourn and judge those people that turned her away. But when a 16-year-old walks in on a Sunday morning with a pregnant belly, we look at her and scoff. And so why is it that Mary gets our grace and our sadness, but then this young girl who's right there that needs your help, you look at her and ignore the situation? Just something to think about.
Amen. Our guests this morning have been Justin Richards, pastor of Bowdon Baptist Church. And before we go, real quick, you got 10 seconds. Tell us about, you got something going on?
Yeah, so helping out my daughter. Reaching Above is a special needs class that she's a part of. We are having a 5K the last Saturday that will support that class. So if you want to help out my kids, right, come run the race with us and run off that Thanksgiving turkey.
And get in touch with Justin.
Yeah, just reach out to me on social media. That's the easiest way. You can find me.
And our gratitude to Gwyn Andrews, founder and president of the Turning Point chapter of the University of West Georgia, also president of Students for Life. So, thank you very much for coming in. And
Thanks
we
for the
trust
opportunity.
this will touch our audience, and who knows how many people as the Lord allows. Thank you, and thank you for listening. Go out and make it a great day. You're in tune to WLBB Carrollton.